Hey guys, how's everyone doing? Hope you're doing well. Well, this project's kind of changed directions. I'll not buy another 272 top end. Show you guys some problems with this. I don't know if the GoPro will pick it up, but this is farmertec cylinder. I gave a whopping $16 for it. I guess the piston and the ring was worth that, you know. Maybe it could be used in something else, who knows, but this cylinder would need a ton of machine work, which I don't have the ability here to do. First off, that squish band, and that's not the only issue with it. All the ports and everything look fine. Port placement, don't get me wrong, it's all good. Piston looks nice, but I don't know if you can see, but there's like a step around the edge of that squish band that's probably well over 100 thousandths, probably a 1/16 of an inch thick out from the wall of the cylinder. I don't think that these saws were that way from the factory. No 2 series saw I've had apart here has been that way, but the other problem is, and the kit did come with a new wrist pin bearing. I don't have a problem with farmertec bearings, and it come with a whole gasket set as well, which I don't have a problem with farmertec gaskets, so I'm not going to say I got ripped off. I think once it was all said and done, it wasn't even 18 bucks for it all, but yeah, I've seen a lot of people do 272 conversions on 61s, and I've never heard of anyone having to modify the cases, so I don't know, maybe this cylinder just had some manufacturing issues. The man would also have to chuck it in a lathe, and I don't know how far he would have to cut that down. I've went around it with some sandpaper. It's just not even close to fitting. You know, I've done like a 038 to an 038 mag swap and had to clearance the cases. I've done a couple other saws where I've done big bore setups on them and had to clearance the cases as well. But I usually have the cases apart when I'm doing that, and I'm not going to risk getting a bunch of shrapnel and stuff into these bearings. They feel great. We're wrecking these cases to put a $16 Chinese cylinder on it, so I've got several 48mm pistons here. I don't know if any of them's going to work. It'll be pure luck if one of them does, so we're going to try to come up with a piston and put the 61 top end back on it. We will throw what port work at it I can do, and what I want the saw pretty dang hot. I built 3 others, they ran well, but this one's mine. You know, I'll turn it up quite some bit hotter, do some tricks to it to suit me, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But kind of let down on this, but you know, whatever it is, what it is, you get what you pay for. Even if it would have fit into the crankcases, there's no way it ever would have made any real compression at all. And you know, if one of you guys have seen this before, to where the cases had to be clearanced or the cylinder had to be put in a lathe and turned down to even fit into the crankcases, let me know. But I've seen a lot of people do 61 to 272 swaps, and have honestly never heard of anyone having to do that. So it probably just, you know, a manufacturing defect on this cylinder, but whatever it is, what it is, the rest of the parts that came in the box were well worth what I paid for it, I guess. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pause you guys, and hopefully we can come up with a piston to put this thing back together. Alright guys, we are in luck. The steel piston I had in 48mm, I actually had 2 here, a new one and an OEM. The steel used a 10mm wrist pin, so you know it wasn't going to work regardless. What we have here, the piston on the left, is obviously our old wore out 61 piston, and piston on the right is a 365 special piston. You know, you hear guys doing these swaps in reverse, like the 272 piston and the big bore 372, and the 268 piston and, you know, a 50 millimeter 372, but you don't ever hear of anyone doing this. But you know what, it's all I have here, and you know, I'll argue it with anyone. It's always better to put an OEM piston or something back in one if you have the ability to do it. This one's cleaned up already, ready to go. It is taller than the 61 piston. I've not measured. It's probably a good 25-30 thousandths, maybe more. And the skirt length is also a little longer, but you know, we can trim that back. We can get our intake timing through the piston. It just kind of made my day here to find that I had a piston that's going to work, and I'm pretty sure I have 2 new 48 millimeter rings here in the box. I'll have to look and dig through and find them, but I'm pretty sure they're there somewhere. So yeah guys, we're in luck. The, you know, the 272 setup kind of up in the air, but I'd about rather use this OEM KS cylinder back on it anyway, and you know, leave it just as a 61. May pick us up another setup in the future to do a 272 on, but we should be able to get squished dialed in tight and, you know, make one strong ass running saw out of this thing. I'll bring you guys back once I get this on the saw and figure some things out. Ain't that a lot prettier? I've got it to where it's not a head slapper. I'm gonna put it on, see where it's at. This is obviously not the correct way to do this, but I've done it on a lot of saws over the years. I don't even remember the first one I done it on. Seemed like it was an 026 or something, but I've got a lot of old pistons laying around there with sandpaper on top of them. That's just you can glue it on, or the best way to do it is to get you some adhesive back paper for a DA sander. A lot of times you can put the 1/2 inch bit that goes in your screw gun that would accept like a 1/2 inch socket, and you may have to tape it up or something, but you know, it'll fit in there. But what I used today was just the same tool that I used to remove clutches from a lot of Huskies. It's just a disc brake tool. Run your drill at a super low speed, cut a little bit at a time. Again, this is stuff you don't want to be in a hurry on. Your piston is softer than the plating, or at least weighs most of the time it is. So, you know, there is a chance you could mess up the plating in the cylinder, but if you take your time, take an air hose, blow it out, you know, it just works. But I'll bring you guys back when I see where I'm at with squish. We'll probably end up just putting a base gasket back on it instead of cutting a ton of material out of that band with this method. I have cut upwards of 30 thou out of them before, but again, you just take that risk of screwing something up. Alright guys, I'm gonna wrap this video up. My feet are freezing. You know, I apologize. You know, the first 2 videos, you know, titled 61 to 272 build. I'm probably going to go back and retitle those just so there's no confusion. Which, you know, it probably really doesn't matter anyway, but would have been cool to use that cylinder. I'm not going to order another one, another brand or anything. 'Cause what we got here is probably going to run better than, you know, that would have anyway, with the way that squish band looked in it. You know, the saw never would have made a lot of compression no matter what, unless I sent it to somebody and had them do a shit ton of machine work to that thing. But it's always better to have OEM stuff on a saw anyway. I'll argue it with anyone. You know, I like the aftermarket stuff, but just is what it is. But once I polished the crown of that piston, I'm going to take some off the skirts of it too, just because I can, just because they're a little longer than the other piston. Never a bad idea to lighten one up a little bit. Get our glue in there, squish will be real nice. Again, big wide squish band, little tiny combustion chamber. This thing should make some killer compression. I about know right where the exhaust timing's going to be, but then again, the other ones I done had Molly cylinders. This is a KS cylinder. we'll just have to see. I've got some numbers in my head that I might kind of want to throw at it. I don't know yet. I'm just going to have to see where they're at now. But in the next video, what we'll do is there's a ton of carbon out of exhaust port. I'm going to clean it up. I'm not going to polish it, but I'm going to clean it up, clean up the intake port, shorten the skirts on the piston, and, you know, we'll check all the port timing on it and see where everything's at and kind of come up with a game plan on it. It's going to kind of be another porting series, I guess, you know. There's a million of them out there, but I guess this one's kind of got a twist on it because we've done a little backyard machine work, I guess, and that is not the proper way to cut a squish span. You know, I'd like to have a lathe in here. It may happen one of these days, but may end up getting somebody to make me some mandrels, just different sizes, to where we can properly cut the squish bands. Not to say that this, you know, this works just fine. I've done it off and on for years. I've not had a problem. But again, you know, you do take the risk of messing up the cylinder. The piston's normally softer than tightening your cylinder. We managed to cut well over 20 thousandths out of that band, and the cylinder still looks as good as it did when we started. So, you know, we should be just fine. I always hone a used cylinder anyway. It's just something I do when I put in fresh rings. I do have a new ring here. I've actually got 2 new rings, but we're going to put a new ring in it and hone the cylinder. Again, you know, it may end up needing seals, but that ain't no big deal. I may look around here, may have a set of seals to fit it, who knows, but I think we can make one really nasty saw out of this thing. You know, it's short bar saw. Not to say that it wouldn't pull a long bar. We may even put that 28 on it and go try it out. Who knows? But I'm thinking we've got the start of one nasty ass 61 here. It is an open port design. You know, closed port's always better, but open port don't scare me none either. My old 034, I don't know how many of you have tore those down. I don't think I've shown none of that on video. Just one of them times where I wasn't in the mood to video when I built that saw, but you can go back to the video of it. I may show the port work of the saw, I don't remember, but those are an open port design. It's really similar to the closed ports, but you know, in the end it's an open port cylinder, and that saw freaking rips. We've got a few CCs on that saw here with this. Will I be able to get it to run with an MS360? You know, I don't know. Who knows? My 360s that I do always end up being some pretty nasty saws, but we'll just have to see. So, like I said, I'm going to wrap this up. It's getting kind of chilly out here. Next video, we'll get into some port work and some timing numbers and, you know, game plan. And, you know, that may be the final video on it. Who knows? But, as always, thank you guys for watching. Y'all stay safe and have a good one.